A big hello to everyone. It's an honor to be a part of the 30th MRSI seminar and an absolute pleasure to come and speak amongst all of you, industry counterparts and experts in a forum like this. I am Nimisha Garg from ITC CMI team, and I have with me Rutu from Jigsaw. We are here to talk about our paper, developing guidelines for a brand to help own a distinctive asset. It's a story about how creative research methods enabled a brand, Be Natural, in the ITC's portfolio to help solidify its root and positioning on the fruit nourishment space. Be Natural is a known name in the juices and nectar segment. Ever since its launch under the ITC umbrella, the brand had positioned itself The brand had positioned itself as a brand free from concentrates. The brand saw an initial promising launch, but however, over a period of time, the sales plateaued. This led to the question to understand what is limiting the growth for brand, and hence the need for research. Several researches were conducted to understand how do consumers decipher the space of fruit nourishment. And the researchers revealed that consumers see fiber as an essential part of the fruit nourishment space. Mothers are always on a constant tryst to give full nourishment to their kids. However, children have their own preferences, and they prefer juices over fruit, which leaves beside the aspect of fiber, and hence asking the mother to look for options which can give the benefit of both fruit and fiber. This insight was therefore taken well by the Be Natural team, and the brand started positioning itself on the duality of fruit and fiber. All the brand communications were refreshed and revamped, and we saw that though the needle started ticking in favor of Be Natural, however, the brand was still not able to own the space with confidence. There was an increase in spontaneous awareness, but the gap versus the lead competition still was huge. Market shares also saw an uptick, but only marginally. Further leading us to a question that how can we help the brand take this up in a more meaningful manner? Therefore, the key objective for this research for us was to understand what are the reasons for low attribution with Be Natural in the aspect of fruit and fiber, and hence come up with a charter to help the brand make effective communication to own this space in a with more confidence and in a solidifying manner. To do this, we deferred going the regular route of conducting a fresh consumer research. Rather, we thought to step back and use the internal expertise of social listening team at ITC, who had a repertoire of knowledge around the social listening for fruit and fiber. Also, we thought that consumers will not be able to help us give meaningful codes and insights to come up with the communication cues. Instead of that, we would rather need help of experts and semioticians who could look from a fresh lens at the array of researches which were conducted in past, who could also help decode the codes for understanding sharper communication cues in this category, especially for Be Natural, juxtaposing it versus how and what the competition is doing. To talk about the methodology and researching details, I will now hand it over to Rutu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nimisha. So as we're all here to specifically speak about the methodology of the research and the fact that we devised a fairly differentiated methodology. There's a lot of data that already existed when we took on the project, and we realized that rather than going back to the consumer and trying to delve deeper into what is the attribution of fruit and what is the attribution of fiber and getting new avenues of insights and direction, we said, why don't we try and step back a little bit and actually use all the existing data that we have. And one of the things that we do over here is that we take all the data that exists and we put our lens, we put a creative lens to it. So we looked at the social listening reports, we looked at the secondary data, we looked at social chatter, we looked at the visual and the verbal communication codes through social media, through advertising, competition, as well as B Naturals. And basis all of this, we devised a differentiated framework. So we had a four-staged framework that we created. The first stage was to understand and decode really what is the consumer's association with fruit and fiber. How does the consumer actually encode these informations in their memory? The second part was to devise a creative framework. So we devised a conceptual creative framework on the basis of which we analyzed all the communication that B Naturals was doing as well as competition was doing. And on the basis of this, we identified certain white spaces. We identified the gaps in the communication, and we finally identified the guidelines that B Naturals should be taking to land stronger on the proposition of fruit and fiber. So let's take, for example, let me show you in detail how we actually ended up doing this. Now, this entire thing has been based on the fact that there are certain cognitive structures through which information is encoded in the mind, and really making sense of these schemas is the basis of the entire study that we did. So the first part of it was looking at the visual and the verbal associations of fiber. What does fiber really mean when you think of it, right? Now, what is the connotation of fiber? When you think of fiber, what are the words that come to your mind? What are the images that come to your mind? Maybe there are stories, maybe there are certain experiences that you've had that come to your mind. So we wanted to really go deeper into understanding all of this. And what we found was that it triggers the presence of thready, fibrous components with solid bits in the product's composition, with vivid imagery, whole raw fruits responsible for making the fruit thick and pulpy. What we arrived at were a lot of different attributes for the word fiber. And a few of these, I'm sorry, have been masked because of confidentiality. But this entire framework helped us arrive at the verbal and the visual associations of the word fiber. And on the basis of this, we were then able to devise the framework that we designed. What we found here was that fiber is not simply a word, right? It's a meaning. It's an ecosystem of meaning, visual, verbal, emotional messaging that consumers understand and derive from. And based on these associations, we devised the 4 pillars of our framework. And these pillars was used as a conceptual framework to devise, to define, and to evaluate B Naturals communication along with competition communication. So the framework looks like this. Once again, I'm sorry, but I've had to mask the 2 of the pillars, but I'll explain the first 2 pillars here. One was health as a pillar, and the second one was fitness. And then we had 2 more pillars as well. What we looked at over here is, if you look at health specifically, what does health really mean when it comes to the context of fiber? We're looking at essentially eating fiber for better health benefits. It has great benefits. It is something that people constitute when it comes to gut health, digestion, roughage, energy, stamina, metabolism. It also combats lifestyle diseases. Similarly, for fitness, we also identified a whole lot of meaning that consumers have. Now, these schemas of meaning that we had decoded from the secondary data, the existing data, we started looking at all the communication that existed in the B Natural space as well as in competition space. So what we identified here, most importantly, was that all of B Natural's communication stood very, very strong on fruit, but the fiber association was not so strong. We also found that health was something that was landing very well when it came to the celebrity advertising, but at the same time, it was making it was somewhere falling short on a very, very strong fiber association. So what we did here was, similarly, we did this with the competition advertising as well. We identified each of the pillars and we looked at the communication from the angle of each of the pillars.
Mommy best या पापा best?
Fruits are
I'm sorry. Yeah. You want me to play that? Okay. And finally, we identified the communication cues. So, having done all of the analysis, we said, okay, these are the final communication cues that B Naturals needs to take up. We synthesized the learnings and we crafted the communication codes for B Natural. And finally, we identified that these were the 4 pillars of fiber association that B Naturals definitely needs to take up. The brand currently showcases fiber, but it's very limited in its capacity. It needs an uplift, it needs a refresh to suit the framework. Hence, the need to include a coherent story around the word fiber, which help the consumers really land the association very, very strongly in the mind and not in a diffused way, which is what we had found. So fiber in fruit is not simply a word, but it is an ecosystem of various elemental codes queuing a comprehensive benefit. Now, through this analysis, we were able to identify this and then finally give the team the guidelines for communication. Handing over back to Nimisha.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Ritu. So the learnings from this research were well understood and absorbed by the B Natural marketing and brand team. And the most interesting part was the immediate call to action that the brand took in the immediate summer season following the research. There was a 360-degree refresh in all the communication codes, and they all semiotically cued the presence of fiber and also reflected the 4 pillars of the framework. Changes were made to TVC, to taglines, and even the POSM material. All these celebrating the fruit and fiber manifestation in its completeness and helping the brand to solidify its positioning. Some of the examples from the refresh were, there was a tagline update, sharper and more focused product shots cueing fiber codes, health-related color codes used on the packaging, active lifestyle depiction in the TVCs and across other touch points of communication. All this and much more, leaving a coherent narration of the fiber story for the consumers. This overall implementation helped benefit the brand in more than many ways, not only from a consumer lens, but as well as from a commercial aspect. The brand saw a 50% increase in the initial summer season in its sales versus the last year, and the sales continue to grow for the brand, hitting all-time high this year. Further, in terms of the competitive landscape too, the brand saw an uplift in the quality of awareness, with the top-of-mind awareness increasing by approximately 3 times, and even consumption aspects doubling up. In the end, in totality, this was an experience for us where we saw broadening of the focus of the lens while solving for a research question, and going beyond the traditional and mainstream research approaches, but unifying research to help business with effective implementation aspects in researchers' new avatars. Thank you.